welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. This is Dan, the part-time adventurer. With me is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Movies tell stories. Stories need to move forward and have conflict. And conflict is resolved by one thing and one thing only: violence. And if movie violence has taught us anything, it's the person with the best weapon that will win the day. So today, we celebrate movie weapons.
We're going to go down a list that we feel is historically and categorically just superior compared to others. But we've seen a lot of movies, and we're very big fans of a lot of weapons in movies. So before we go into our deep, hardcore list, let's talk a little bit about some honorable mentions and why they didn't just quite make the list.
Yeah, as we built this list, we had just a giant whiteboard of ideas and thoughts and things that gleaned tactical superiority in films. So there are a few examples we want to share of what didn't make the list and why, and how we narrowed down this arsenal of excellence. So the first example that I have, and something that I was super stoked to talk about, was a vehicle. And we decided no vehicles on the list, but talk about the ultimate weapon and advantage, the Red October. It comes with a choir and it's really quiet.
So true story, for that movie, I fell asleep and I have not revisited it since. So I was younger, and to be fair, so I was maybe like 7 or 8. I think that's around the time when that movie came out, and it just didn't really capture my attention. I did wake up at the end. Do I remember the end? No, but I knew that the Red October was something that was really dangerous and badass. So, yeah, that's something that I remember from that.
I'm going to say that just because your view had some adversary, this invention and weapon would have taken out any adversary. And if you'd seen the movie and didn't fall asleep like a little bitch, you would have understood that Sean Connery reference and the most like famous mispronunciation ever in movies.
But
7. You were just tired.
I was 7.
Little baby need to go to bed.
Well, keep for the record, calling a 7-year-old a little bitch, my co-host. So yeah,
I mean, I'm just
don't
saying,
agree with it.
Some 7-year-olds are probably little bitches. I don't know.
That is true. I have seen. I've been to birthday parties, and I have seen some.
I mean, in those situations, let's be honest, we blame the parents.
We do.
It's not the kids' fault. Kids are impressionable and wonderful.
But I
suck.
I have seen some parents with like them holding back tears, noticing that their kids just aren't as tough as some parents would want them to be. So I feel for that, but at the same time, like, hey, they're kids, and
I mean,
any parents listening, they're kids. They'll grow out of whatever and if they don't, who cares? Do you love them any less? If you do, then fuck you.
Then you're a little bitch.
Yeah.
Speaking of tough, another thing that we left off the list that is near and dear to all of our hearts, and in some cases over our right shoulder, is Cap's shield, the toughest material in the world, in Wakanda. But was it a weapon, or was it for defense? Could half the things on our list blow right through it? That's the question. That's the question.
We're big Captain America fans, and as obviously you can see right there, I've got my shield in my background. But I just felt that wasn't necessarily going to make our list because of the fact that, yeah, is it a weapon, or is it a symbol? Some people would say it's just a symbol, and it absolutely is. It's more than just a weapon. It's more than just a shield. Assembles the Avengers. It's something that signifies the strength of the United States, signifies the strength of heroes. Enough Marvel talk for me. I could do this all day. So I'll go on to another honorable mention for ours. And one of them is mine. And I was very disappointed to leave this off the list. But at the same time, I also took it off of contention for the top list because It was the sniper rifle, the 50 cal in Navy SEALs, held by Bill Paxton, aka God, codename God in the movie Navy SEALs. And Navy SEALs has been made fun of, not just from people in general when that movie came out, but also in Kevin Smith movies. So we can't keep that on the list, right? But
I mean,
Bill
nobody's
pa-
referenced Navy SEALs since Clerks. We're not going to start. Move
True.
on.
For any Navy SEALs fans out there or any gun enthusiasts, it is not accurate whatsoever. But man, it was cool to see on the movie.
Oh man. Speaking of guns that are not realistic, another honorable mention that's not on the list is the Judge Dredd lawmaker. I mean, what a Swiss Army knife of judging and enforcement that was. It had DNA reading technology. Literally was the red herring in the movie, drove the plot in the Stallone one because it wasn't the acting that drove that plot, but it just didn't get you there. It paled in comparison to some of the weaponry that made our list.
What drove the plot was Rob Schneider in that movie. That's what it was.
Oh man.
Another honorable mention, and then we'll go on to our list, I think, is a weapon that isn't a gun, but was carefully crafted and with no ego, was the best sword ever made. And that is the sword of the bride in the first Kill Bill. Hattori Hanzo steel, or Hanzo Hattori steel. I can't remember what came first, but
Oh man, the hypocrisy is strong with the
I
mispronunciations in this episode.
no, the pronunciation is there. It's just I don't know if it's Hanzo Hattori or Hattori Hanzo.
Man,
Uh,
respect their culture, Dan.
I want to
Respect.
say it's Hattori Hanzo, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. But that sword cut down so many people. And it was just like a really cool weapon. And the fact that they went into such a cool backstory and really like almost like a 20-minute part of that movie was all focused on the making of the sword and its importance. So not only did it signify the bride's revenge, but also just unparalleled to any other samurai sword, except another Hattori Hanzo sword.
Speaking of sharp symbols that cut through a lot of things, another honorable mention that just didn't make the cut, pun intended, is something that we know we're going to talk at length about in the past and in the future, something that we're excited to see in action coming up soon, depending on when we release this episode or having most recently seen, and that are the claws of the one and the only Logan, the Wolverine claws. Your favorite adamantium and mine.
If we did Wolverine's claws as one of the top weapons in movies, a majority of the list would just be all Marvel stuff, which I don't necessarily think that would be fair. One thing that I'm definitely not going to put on there is Batarang. So it's I love the fact that we do have some Marvel representation. Not once did we consider any DC weapon to be on this list.
No, it's
No,
not.
no
Not.
Aquaman Trident,
Yeah,
no
no.
Lasso of Truth,
Mm-mm.
nothing.
No, no. We even considered Indiana Jones's pistol because it took down a giant, but none of the giant killing weapons in DC made the list because let's be honest, subpar.
But something that we're not going to talk about being subpar is this fantastic list that we have. So let's go on to the top 10 weapons used in movies. I think every list that we ever have, it includes Arnold Schwarzenegger. And what a badass weapon than the railgun in a racer. Like, holy
He's
shit.
he's got the biggest guns that see through the walls and shoot through the walls, and they're green, which means obviously they're super powered. Are they nuclear? We don't even know. Do they shoot rails? That's what the name is, but they've got a screen. They're very technical. I can't explain the engineering to you, except I can take two at a time and just absolutely kill.
Only only Arnold Schwarzenegger could take two at a time because all the other bitches in the movie had to just use one because it was too heavy for them. So, what a fantastic, fantastic movie. We're Arnold fans, so I don't give a shit what you all say, but this is probably his best, the last best movie he made. With the exception, and I'm a big Terminator fan. Obviously, there's some Terminator movies that came out with him in it later on, but I think this was his last blockbuster, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Ooh, I mean, I don't. I've got to think about that for a minute.
That was the
Um,
peak Arnold, the peak action Arnold's. I shouldn't say peak, but his last solid action movie that he had.
well, I mean, this came out before he decided it was a better idea to be the governor than to be an action star. Is that is correct, isn't it?
He came up with a couple other ones after that. They weren't very well received by critics, and it also wasn't him as the awesome ass kicking action star. He kicked some ass in the movies, but not like the invincible, untouchable Arnolds that we all grew up to know and love.
I mean, I will say that this is not his last best movie because Jingle All the Way came out after this. And that's just, I mean, I've got to be on the side of that. And Mr. Freeze was the year after Eraser. But you're right. This is in the hot zone, right? After T2, True Lies, Junior, Eraser, Jingle All the Way. We love them all. They're amazing.
The railgun eraser, fantastic weapon to kick off this list. But the next one is even better. We've got the pulse rifle in Aliens. Aliens, one of my favorite movies as a kid. And I stress that as a kid because I watched it as a kid. The sound. This is something that is, you could use stock sound for guns. But James Cameron and his sound people came up with an awesome sound for that pulse rifle, and it's so memorable. Like if you hear that, you'll know that it's a pulse rifle from Aliens. And not any other movie has replicated that type of sound where it's that iconic, I think.
Not for a gun. Is there an iconic sound that people can it speaks to them? And this is one of the most replicated, recreated, practical effects weapons that you see. They just don't do it like this anymore. And it brought you to that sci-fi place. It was enough of a current looking gun, but also that future piece that just got you there. And it's classic.
And that grenade launcher, I don't know if you want to mess with that right there, but hey, we started this, so we'll finish it. Yeah, just an awesome military weapon, fantastic sound, sleek, compact, ass kicking to take out all the aliens. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. 100%. Going on to the next one, we throw it back a little bit further into the retro type of series. When you saw Dirty Harry holding up his gun and people reciting that line, like, do you feel lucky, punk? You always remember the 44 Magnum. Blow your head clean off.
It's a goddamn hand cannon.
Love it. And I'm not even a Dirty Harry fan, but that gun was pretty sweet. And there's
It's
plenty
the
of movies.
only thing I remember about the Dirty Harry movies is he had a real big gun. It is the ultimate in masculine compensation.
I got to ask you one question, Mark. Are you feeling lucky with this next selection? Because we're going to go on this list to another badass weapon, and that is going to be the chainsaw arm. Ash and the Evil Dead series, it's come up in multiple movies and TV shows that he's been in. So iconic. And this is the one where I'm not even really a big Evil Dead fan. I like it. I just felt that this was a weapon that is just too iconic to pass up. It needed to be on the list.
I mean, what a great balance of absurdity and gore that defines the Evil Dead series. The boomstick is one thing, but when you just crank up that chainsaw arm and lean in to your stump, man, you're just out there killing it for all of us.
Yeah, so functional, right? So functional to kill undead spirits,
and
demons.
It looks ergonomic as well. Like it's perfection.
It must be. Yeah, it must be comfortable. Must be. But yeah, I see a bunch of these whenever there's a comic convention and anyone dressing up like Ash, and you know how you know that they're dressed up like Ash? They got a freaking chainsaw arm. That's why. Fantastic weapon. And yes, it has definitely been the reason for a lot of demon casualties. Pretty kick ass. But as we go down this list, we got more kick ass stuff. And did you even play GoldenEye back in the day unless you had Golden Gun as one of the preferred weapon? I mean,
I
come
mean,
on.
let's be honest. You either went all slaps, one shot kills, or you put the golden gun out there and just took people out. You banned people from playing as odd job because they were obviously shorter than the rest of the group. But man, this movie predates me by almost a decade. But this weapon, hearts and minds of all of us millennials that spent years on the four-way split screen, just having a great time. Kudos to the Golden Gun and Scarmander. But I mean, this movie is one of the campiest Bond movies by far, right? It has so many funny things. It's the world's greatest assassin's gun. It's modular and it's powerful. I mean, for Sauron to use it, it's got to be great.
I remember this from the video game. I really honestly don't remember much about that movie, but it was so important that yeah, that's what it was. Like you put that in the video game GoldenEye, and everyone loved to play Golden Gun. We would always play Golden Gun, and whoever had it, it was just like, all right, it's a 3-on-1 situation right now because we need to all go after the guy with the Golden Gun. Otherwise, we're all apt in the A. For that reason, I salute you, Golden Gun. Fantastic weapon, and hey, just awesome placement on our list. All right, the next one, Old Painless, Blaine's minigun in Predator. I don't know about you, but that is the first time I'd ever seen a weapon like that on screen. It might have even been the first time that weapon has ever been on screen, held in someone's arms, which Jesse Ventura, who thought he had the largest arms, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was so conniving in his mind tricks. He had measurements underestimated, and so they decided to bet a bottle of champagne on who had the biggest arms. Well, no surprise, Mr. Universe did. But that weapon, freaking whoever held it just looked like the biggest badass. Even Mac, just when he's mowing down the rainforest, who didn't want to just shoot guns blindly into rainforest after seeing this? I don't know who.
Due to Jesse Ventura's ability to cut a promo and Arnold's existence on this list, I didn't give much pushback, but honestly, Arnold wielded the gun in T2, I think, better. But we're splitting hairs, right? We're picking nits. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody loves this former governor as well.
I think that's another weapon that he used in his movies because he wanted to be the one to look badass with it. There was some like either in like a deleted scene or some type of interviews with them that Arnold was kind of pissed that Jesse Ventura was holding that gun and he couldn't hold it. Arnold was always kind of like, "Oh, I should have the big gun, you know. I'm Mr. Universe." Ah. And so he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back for Terminator 2. Excuse me, Terminator 2." So you got your shot, Arnold, and you did look pretty badass with it. But it all originated with Blaine and that minigun Old Painless. Next one up is near and dear to my heart. With weapons, we always think guns, and we talked a little bit about swords, but no one has brought the nunchaku or nunchucks to the screen better than Bruce Lee. It's iconic because even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles decided to use it as one of their weapons. And yeah, it's all because of Bruce Lee. He brought that on screen. He had the most acrobatic type of and creative fight scenes with them, incorporating the use of the striking, the twirling, and everything like that. That inspired me to practice and train in nunchucks. And I can't do the same type of shit that some of the people on like Instagram do, but at the same time, it's functional. I like it. It's on my list.
I'm gonna say that everybody had fucking nunchucks after this. It exploded. All of us had weapons as children, and we all hit ourselves in the nuts at some point. So thanks, Bruce Lee, for letting me hit myself in the nuts.
True story. I would, because my parents and we didn't have like, obviously we didn't have like Amazon or the internet back then. you had to try and seek those out, and I wanted them about as accurate as I could. So what my dad would do is he would take newspapers and duct tape them and basically like drill holes in them and create my own little nunchucks out of newspaper. And they still fucking hurt. But we he would do like multiple of them so we could have battles, my brother and him around the house. And so it was pretty fun. One of my core memories of having nunchuck fights with my family. So yeah, that just for the nostalgic moment, just put it on the list right there. So thank you, Bruce
Having
Lee.
nunchucks
Thank you,
fights with
Nunchuck
my
Use.
family. Oh, such a healthy childhood.
All right, but hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger pops up on our list again, and it's the Terminator 2 shotgun. When he just does that flip with the shotgun to load the round. So awesome. And God, I remember shotguns were just cool. And just the fact that you could do that made it even cooler. So cool that they also incorporated that same reloading action in the Call of Duty series. So you can hold that shotgun akimbo with two of them and then flip them in both hands. So awesome.
Yeah, this is not on the list for power. This is on the list for cool factor. Let's be honest. And if you look at even the picture, right, of him astride his iron horse using his Western style shotgun, such a cowboy, that Terminator, such a cowboy.
Badass, bad to the bone, if you will. So such
Oh,
an awesome weapon, and I mean, who doesn't love a good shotgun in a movie? You know, I think they're underutilized nowadays. Thanks to John Wick, at least they brought that back a little bit more, but underutilized in movies today because who can do it better than Arnold?
not many. But speaking of who can do it better, nobody can drive a nail better than this next weapon. I love this picture because it represents such a sharing moment, you know, such an equal opportunity weapon, and that is the hammer of Thor, or as Dan pronounces it.
There, or as Darcy in Thor would pronounce it, meow meow. But yeah, such an awesome weapon, and I we put this at the last weapon on our list because I think this always got like the biggest pop that has been on recorded history in movies. When Cap picks up that hammer, oh my gosh. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it because that was like the coolest moment in the theaters when he picks that up. Everybody roars. And you've all seen the clip on social media where someone did the crowd reaction to that. This is so awesome. So awesome. And there's been so many of those reactions in the entire series of the Infinity Saga, right? You've got when Vision picks up the hammer and hands it to Thor. You've got it when Thor actually picks up the hammer in the movie Thor, and then also the Mighty Thor, played by Jane Foster, Natalie Portman. I mean, so many cool things that weapon has done. Everyone wants a Thor hammer. Everyone. They should do that at Disney. They should have who can pick up the hammer at Disney. I don't give a shit about the Sword and the Stone. Get me Mjolnir, put it in Disney World, Disneyland. I will try to pick that up at both parks today. I'll fly out there right now.
Well, the hypocrisy is strong with this one because you're wrong on two counts, right? You're wrong that this is the top weapon on our list because it's not. And you're wrong that this gets the best reaction when brought to the screen because I'll disagree. It's not even the best reaction in a movie that Natalie Portman is associated with. The top weapon on our list and in all of movies has to be the lightsaber. The most
Ah,
versatile, the most deadly, the most badass. And let's be honest, when they popped off that double-sided lightsaber in the Phantom Menace, the whole world went crazy. In the second, in Attack of the Clones, when Yoda pulls out his lightsaber, that was my first Captain America moment, right? That was huge because nobody saw it coming, but everybody knew what a lightsaber was. They knew it, they loved it. And I mean, the most iconic movie weapon of all time. You want to talk about Disney bringing something to the park? You can build your own lightsaber there. They sell them everywhere. It's all there. Thor's hammer can rest in Walmart while Disney brings in the big guns. Let's be honest. Everybody knows the sound it makes, like the pulse rifle. Everybody knows the colors, the brightness, the whole thing. And as a kid, act like you didn't pretend everything that was long was a lightsaber.
I don't know about that one because I could go a few different ways that way. But yeah, Star Wars lightsabers freaking awesome. I wasn't one of those people in the theaters when Darth Maul pulled out the double lightsaber, but I did think it was badass. Definitely, definitely cool. And obviously, like it's just something that they took from a normal weapon perspective and just did a slight twist, and it was just made that much better. You've got that the lightsaber duel between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Now, like every single lightsaber battle is kind of compared to that, or with Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And luckily, we got a few other badass lightsaber scenes too, with like you got Ahsoka, and then also Luke coming back in the Mandalorian. There's so many cool scenes, so I don't disagree with you. It is definitely awesome out there, probably the most iconic, and obviously people spend, uh, I don't know, maybe millions of dollars on just trying to seek out like really cool lightsabers in their collection. I have seen some of the comparisons with like the more expensive ones, and yeah, I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan, but at the same time, I really enjoy it, and I could totally see why people like to go after those types of collections.
Of all the weapons on this list, only one has a competition with a fictional weapon. There are lightsaber tournaments across the nation.
The one thing that I will say is that when it comes to the Star Wars mythos and the weapons, compared to Mjolnir, one of those weapons just got chucked off the side of a cliff like it was nothing. So just saying, just saying. I love the lightsaber, but I don't know, man.
One of them got like crushed by his sister for no
It got
reason.
put back together, and it was awesome, even better than before, I think.
Either way, nits to pick, close, 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 close. But let's be honest, nothing's more iconic than a lightsaber, and nothing drives plot like violence.
Well, I think that wraps up our episode for the top weapons in movies. And you know what? If you disagree, that's okay. Chime in and see what we missed out on. And that way you can, we'll banter back and forth. We love to do it. But one of the big things is like, hey, it's our list. So until you have your own podcast or until you comment on our socials, our list, our rules, our episode. So until next time, I'm Dan the Part-Time Adventure. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Even though it's our list, we care about your opinions, at least a little bit. So don't forget, if you have any questions about our list, if you want to join in on our conversation, tell us what you think. Connect with us on our social media, TikTok and Instagram at I Can Do This All Day Podcast, all one word, or send us an email at I Can Do This All Day Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know where you feel the hypocrisy is strong. And you can also tell us that lightsabers are the best and Dan's fucking wrong.